I'm Amy Morgan, the feature writer for the Marriage Initiative, and I have a treat for you today. I am so delighted to introduce David and Claudia Arp. The Arps pioneered the idea of a date night for married couples back when they released their 10 Great Dates book in 1983. Although it's been continuously in print for the past 40 years, the book and its subsequent video resources have been recently revised and remain relevant today. 10 Great Dates has been translated into German, Korean, Russian, and Spanish, and was a gold medallion finalist. Its program received the Smart Marriages Impact Award and has been researched by the University of Tennessee. The Arps 10 Great Dates was featured on EWTN's Catholic Global TV network in conjunction with National Marriage Week. Dave and Claudia have built upon the 10 Great Date concept to offer resources for empty nesters and premarital couples as well. The Arps continue to personally counsel couples considering marriage in their church and are working on updating parenting resources previously published in German. Claudia, Dave, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's fun to be with you.
Well, you guys are so amazing and inspirational. Tell us, how did you get started with the idea of Great Dates?
Well, it takes us back a few years.
Yeah.
But we were living in Vienna, Austria. We were there on assignment with Crew, and we were there to develop a marriage enrichment curriculum for use with German-speaking countries in what was then Eastern Europe. And we had 5 years to do this. So at the end of our 5 years, and we were getting all of our material consolidated to give to the different Crew staff members in the different countries. And we were saying, we really want this to be able to be used not only, in conferences, but with churches, with small groups. That was before the day of small groups, but we said couples could get together, and even couple to couple. And we want it to be so transferable, so easy to use, and so male and female friendly.
Yeah.
So
we just came up with the idea of let's make it dates, because guys, they like dates, couples like dates, but guys like dates because, hey, how much trouble can I get in on a date, right? I may not want to go to a marriage course or a marriage seminar or a marriage Bible study or something, but hey, a date, okay, I can do that. And so that's how 10 Dates, came about.
We got it together, and then there was a couple that were really struggling in their marriage, and other friends hooked us up with them, and so we started working with them. And every Sunday evening they would come to our home, and we would introduce, hey, we've got a date for you. And then there were exercises, things for them to talk about. And we said, go out, have a cup of coffee or something to drink, and talk through this date. If you get in trouble, come back and we'll help you.
Yeah. So we were fortunate in Vienna. We lived in a little village, a little wine area, so they could just go up to a burger, have a date, and they would have their date, and every Sunday they would come, and we had to have that next date ready for them. And so they were sort of the impetus to make sure we got it all put together. And then some friends of ours said, this is really clever. You got to send it to a publisher in the States and see what would happen. And so Claudia had published a book earlier with Thomas Nelson, and so
I had co-authored a book.
Yeah. So we sent it to the manuscript to Thomas Nelson, and by return, what was then FedEx, by return mail, we got a contract. I said, whoa, okay, this is cool. And that's how it all started. It's all a God thing, as Amy in our previous conversation. So most of what we have seen come about has been a God thing. We've just...
And that's a good thing.
That's a good thing, yeah.
That's a God thing.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because that was when we were finishing up with our assignment there, and we moved back as our kids were getting near college age. And so the book was published that next year, and churches started picking it up and using it as a program.
Yeah.
It was so easy to do. And that's how it, started out. And then later, we moved sort of most of our publishing to Zondervan which is now part of HarperCollins. And so they did the first video curriculum and, spiffed it up. It was really
I had hair back then. That was 200 years ago,
So that was published in, in
96.
98, I think
98,
it was.
okay.
And then, it's just continued to evolve. And so.
And you recently updated it, because when I read it, you have examples in there that are very relevant. You have social media references. You have it does not read like something that started in 1983. It's very applicable, and it kind of now it's a marriage program disguised as dates. And churches, you had some churches recently in your area that branched out and offered it this year, right? How did they use it? Because I think that our marriage champions would really be interested to see how they could follow in the footsteps and do that.
Well, we'd love to tell you.
Well,
It's been used, pretty broadly around the country for many years since the first video curriculum came out.
Yeah.
So.
Well, right now it's the Basilica of St. Mary's, one of the large Catholic parishes here in Alexandria, just outside of Washington, D.C., has been doing it on a monthly basis. And they actually, EWTN, the Catholic Global TV Network, actually did a program on it for Marriage Week. So that was pretty cool. And then our church has done 10 Great Dates. We're in a church with lots of young families. And it's just... We love it because we have all these young families with little kids running around, and that's our sweet spot. Oh. And so
what does it look like when a church, like you said, the Catholic parish is offering it? What does that look like? How could a marriage champion follow their lead?
Okay.
Well, there are several. It's a very flexible program, and it leads itself practically. You can train, a lay couple to lead it. Basically, an elevator version of it. If you're the church on the corner that has fun dates and free or low-cost childcare, couples will come. It's a great outreach, and it was used in many of the federally funded marriage education grants to get people in.
In fact, Dennis Stokia, who's on your board, he was the head of one of the really large grants back in California, and he called us. He said, we're getting ready to launch our marriage initiative in California, and we want to launch it with 10 Great Dates. And I said, really? He said, yeah, because we need to get butts in seats, and and men will come, and so 10 Great Dates was a good entrance to get people exposed to marriage enrichment, marriage education. And then there are other marvelous programs that follow that up.
Out there. This is the one you mentioned, the Impact Award with Smart Marriages, and it said, this is the program that opens the door and the heart so others can come. Mm-hmm. So anyway, we're back to my elevator.
Yes, keep going.
So you get them to the church, and it's pretty easy to get people. Usually the limitation is if you're offering childcare is how many children can you take. That was the limitation in our church.
Yeah.
And, the Basilica at St. Mary's, they've done a great job with their childcare. But couples come, drop off their kids. The church becomes that extended family they so desperately need and probably don't have around where they live. And they meet the other couples, might have a short social time, and then they watch an 8 to 10 minute video date launch where Josh and Christy Straub, who are a couple, if you haven't interviewed them, you definitely need to and know about their resources. They did our updated videos. They have 3 small kids, and they're just wonderful.
Yeah.
And so they did a dating diary on their date. So on the video, they're telling about their date and what they learned, and then they're showing a little video diary of their actual date. It's really we love it. It's very today.
Yeah. So that
launches them. Then you send them out for an hour or 2 hours, however long you're willing to keep their children. They actually have their date. They connect with one another, and they come back more in love. And people tell us what our favorite part is watching them come back and pick up their kids because they're more in love and so connected. So, and you do that 10 times. You can do it every week. You can do 5 weeks, take a break, and then do 5 more. You can do it monthly, bi-weekly.
All kinds of ways. Churches have used it in all kinds of different
There's
stuff.
see the book
Yeah.
has in the back the dating guide and their date night tips and preparation, what they need to do. And then for the one, they're guilt-free days, because if the guy or whoever doesn't have time to read the chapter, there's a chapter summary.
Yeah.
And then there's the dating exercise jogger, his copy, her copy. You just tear them out and go on your date.
Yeah, on a date.
Oh, it's perfect. Tell us about the content. What will someone who's going on one of those dates find in there?
Well, the first one is talking about making your marriage a high priority, and how to, we live such busy lives, and we live here in the Washington, D.C. area, and most of the couples that we're relating to are professionals, highly educated, highly motivated, they're all out there, and then they have this family, and they're just trying to figure out how to make all this work. So that's why 10 Great Dates seems to work pretty well for them, because it gives them a structure to actually start doing something to connect emotionally with each other. And it doesn't take a lot of time, and the church being the babysitter really helps tremendously.
So on the first day, they take a trip down memory lane.
Mm-hmm.
And they think back to when they met, when they fell in love, and some of the highlights in their relationship over the years. And it's emotional focused therapy.
It reminds me of going to
Your therapist would tell you.
Or it reminds me of going to a wedding, and as you're looking at the bride and the groom and the smiles on their faces and that love in their eyes, and then it reminds you of when that was you. It's kind of like you're reaffirming all over again.
Yeah, this is going back sort of down memory lane, and Claudia just recently was cleaning out a closet. Can I tell that? Okay, so as she found, we have when we were dating, I was at Georgia Tech, Claudia's University of Georgia, so this was before texting and all that kind of stuff. We wrote letters back and forth. So she found some of the letters, and she came out. She said, "Dave, listen to this," and I said, "Our personalities have not changed. We're still very different. She's a high energy, go take the mountain today. I'm the laid back, easy going. Well, let's think about it a little bit more." And somehow the Lord has used our whatever to work together. And but it was fun going back down our memory lane. We've been married 60 years. It's just going back and thinking.
Yeah, I was 10. He was 12.
Yes.
Y'all are so cute and so inspirational. I told my husband, we just recently celebrated 28, and I'm like, we are going to get at least to 50, depending on how old, how long we live. I'm like, we're getting there. We're going to be like the Arps. Well, it's interesting that you brought up about your personality differences, because that's another one of the chapters, right? About how
finding unity and diversity.
Yeah.
So that's a popular one.
That's And it was a problem in the first 6-7 years of our marriage. It was an issue because we were so different. And when we joined Campus, we were on staff at Campus Crusade for Christ, which is now Cru, for 20 years. Mostly of that time was in Europe. And but when we joined staff, they gave us psychological tests, and the Dr. Blando, the psychologist, said, "Hey, Dave, these are your strengths. Clay, these are your strengths, and these are your weaknesses." And he says, "You're at opposite ends of the spectrum, and this is the challenge, to allow each other to operate in your area of strength as much as you can." And so that's been our challenge. I mean, it's still a challenge.
Still a challenge, but it really has helped so much. Also, there are dates on learning to talk, to really be able to share what's going on in the inside with each other, and then managing your problems, not necessarily solving, because we know that, Dr. Gottman says 67% of the things that we argue about have no solution. So you learn to
We can
manage.
say 60 years later, that is true.
That is true.
But even just knowing that is freeing. Something like, my husband's an early riser and I am not. And just knowing, okay, we're not going to change that. And that's okay. We can manage that so nobody feels missed.
Yeah. Perfect.
So also there's one on encouraging each other. In our negative world today, we need encouragement. And, we're not going to get it in too many other places. So,
And there's one on physical intimacy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the most
Love
popular
life.
date.
That's probably the most
At least for the guys, right? Date 6, date 6.
Oh, you know which one it is.
Oh yeah, I loved your book. I loved it. And I think one of the dates that you all felt was extremely important was date 9, because you
Yes.
actually broke a whole nother book out of that. So let's talk about date 9, and then we'll talk about how it led to a subsequent book.
Well, date 9 deals with growing together spiritually, balancing your each other, your marriage, and your relationship with God. And so we found that, well, the whole book is based on biblical principles, and if you read through it, you see where we paraphrased a lot, and
paraphrase a lot of scripture.
yeah, and have tried to pick the principles that Jesus taught, how he modeled close relationships, and we're to love God and to love our neighbor as ourselves, and we say, who is your closest neighbor? If you're married, it's that person that's nearest and dearest to you that you're living with. So we try to.
Yeah. So the date 9 is written in a way that, because so many couples who come, but maybe one's a Christian, one's not a Christian. One's a Christian, maybe one's sort of a nominal Christian. So how do you tackle this topic in a positive way? So sort of talk about where are you on your spiritual journey, and we share a little bit about our spiritual journey, but in a very low key way. That's why it was used in a lot of these federal grants, because it wasn't evangelistic, so to speak, or right in your face. And
we talk about core beliefs. What are your core beliefs, and what core beliefs do you have in common? And then if someone looked at your life, what would they say is most important to you? Would they see Christ in your life?
Yeah.
And so there was a real desire with churches and groups, what do we do after 10 great dates? And so we came up with 10 great dates, connecting faith, love, and marriage. So it's really 10 dates that spin off of date 9, and has, we call it a spiritual discovery time. It's a Bible study they can do. And then we also have a date, just like in the 10 Great Dates book, where they can tear it out and go out and have a date. It's great for small groups, to get together and build your relationship with other believing couples, and then have your dates separately and you come back and talk about them. So.
I love that. And you have several other spin-offs. The one that
we have our little 10 Great Dates industry.
I know, the industry of 10 Great Dates. The one that appealed to me was your 10 Great Dates for Empty Nesters. And I'm still working on that one. I've recommended it to some friends. We're thinking about doing it in our ladies group. Just because that is so appealing, because that's a time of reconnection, correct?
It is. And it can be a challenging time for us. When our 3 sons left, we got them out of the house. We sort of looked at each other like,
now who are you?
Who are you again? And but
we've been so busy helping couples.
Yeah, we've been so busy. In fact, for you
other.
leaders out there, you make sure you take time for yourselves, because we've been so busy helping everybody else in the world. When our kids left, we sort of looked at each other. And Claudia, being the high energy person, we had signed too many book contracts. We were committed to too many conferences.
You did say we, not just me.
Did I say that?
Messed up.
But anyway, we were sitting at breakfast. This is literally true. We were sitting at breakfast one morning, and I told Clay, I said, if we keep this up, I'm going to be dead in 6 months, because, we were just going all over everywhere.
We didn't travel that much. We didn't do a lot of out-of-town seminars and all until our kids left home. That was our plan, because we've been challenged. You live life in seasons. And so we developed curriculum. We did things locally. So now was our time. to see the world.
Charge into the
Charge.
sunset.
So it didn't last. I mean, we were long until we were just exhausted.
Yeah.
So we had to work our way out of all those commitments. But we were doing a seminar right up here in the Washington, D.C. area. And so we planned after that to go to New England for an empty nest getaway. And it was a wonderful
time.
Wonderful time.
One of our really great
and we were able
memories.
to regroup.
Yeah.
So, we hope that 10 Great Dates for Empty Nesters, and we have another book, The Second Half of Marriage, that we wrote first, that is sort of the basis of the 10 Great Dates for Empty Nesters. We had that, and so where was I going? You pick up now.
The 10 Great Dates for Empty Nesters actually came about through NPR. They wanted to do a special program on empty nesting, and they had come across our second half of marriage.
There was nothing else out there.
There was nothing else out there. They didn't have a lot of choices. So
no, it's true. There is still kind of a dearth because it's definitely something that I would, it's high on my resource radar because that's the stage I'm in.
Yeah, there's still not enough stuff out there. So they asked us that. So we were hosted a NPR TV special on empty nesting, and it was a lot of fun.
And they did this book.
And they did the book, yeah. So the 10 Great Days for Empty Nesters was written for the NPR program. So yeah.
So it was also Zondervan.
Yeah, it was also Zondervan. Yeah.
So anyway.
So hey, we've been around for a long time. We've done just a little about everything.
I know we circled back to our 10 Great Dates before You Say I Do for seriously dating couples, and so we're having fun with that one right now in our church.
Well, I want to talk about that because we have both sides of the coin. You've got the empty nesters, and I love it that the 10 Great Dates before You Say I Do, you are leading this personally in your church, but you are actually leading it with the pre-engaged couples. So let's talk about that. Why is that an important distinction? Not just the lovely soon-to-be bride with the ring on her finger, but even before.
Well, what we discovered, and as you know, is once you have the ring on the finger, it's all about the marriage and the dress and who's going to get invited and
finding the venue, the perfect venue,
and that sort of becomes
just
all
takes
consuming.
Over.
So, as we said, we have all these young couples in our church who are professionals, highly motivated, highly educated, and they're sort of looking at each other. They're starting to date, and they're a little bit scared of marriage, and they're not quite sure where they want to go forward or not. So we said, hey, we'll be the coaching. We'll coach those who are not pre-engaged. Yeah. Just thinking about it. Should we go forward towards marriage?
We think it's the sweet spot because you can really help. At this point, they're trying to really decide: is this someone I want to live with the rest of my life?
Yeah.
And so they are more open. And so at that point, you can help them go through talking through their expectations. Each date in 10 Great Dates Before You Say I Do has something to do with family of origin. And it was amazing how it goes right along with the Prepare, Enrich inventory. Our friend David Olson, who created the Prepare, Enrich inventory, really loved our 10 Great Dates. And once we were talking to him, and he thought that we had done it after he had done Prepare and Enrich, but we did it at the same time because that was done 20 years ago.
Wow.
So he said, and then we began working together more, and actually the videos, date launches for that is done by Heather and Peter Larson. If you haven't had them on your show, that would be another couple. But he at that time was president of Prepare and Enrich. And so we did it we got a grant, and it was a joint project between Prepare and Enrich and Marriage Alive, our nonprofit. And so
David, at one conference we were at, he said, 10 Great Dates and Prepare and Enrich have been dating for a long time. Now they're engaged.
And they've decided they're going to move forward together.
Yeah, we're going to move forward together.
So right now we're working with some of the couples that we have coached and helped who are now married to update this and focus it even more to seriously dating couples. As we feel that if you can catch them at this point, we are not batting 100% because some of the couples discover our expectations don't line up. We've got some work we need to do before we even think about engagement. And so we figure that we help if a couple decide not to get married.
Yeah.
After going through 10 great dates before you say I do, that we have saved a very public and expensive breakup. Or down the road, maybe we've saved a future divorce.
Yeah.
Yes. I think that is a win, really, to have, if you see those red flags, even to take time enough to discover the red flags.
Yeah.
With a couple like you, how absolutely wonderful to come out to your lovely home in the country there and have you talking with them. I think that is batting 100%, because whether they are the right mates for each other and moving forward, or they realize, woo, no, we're really not.
Yeah.
That's really batting 100 too, because that's so much better, like you said, and lots of heartache averted.
Yeah, and it's good. It's Amy, it's good for us too, because we're learning. These couples, their view of the world, their view of marriage, their view of politics, all of it is totally different from our generation when we were that age, and it's good for us to learn how they view the world and how to deal with the world that they live in. Because we have 10 grandchildren who are all in their they're all in their 20s. They're all, except for 2 are all out from college, and it helps us to understand them too. So it's to our benefit. We're learning a lot from them.
Well, and that's the key. That you just answered the question of why your resources are still relevant and why your book has been continuously in print for 40 years, Marriage Champions.
Thank you, Lord.
I cannot stress that enough, that it is continuously in print. And even some of your older things are very easy to find, because I have found some. You actually have a parenting resource that you're getting ready to redo, correct? For teenagers.
Yes.
I found it and I sent it to my brother-in-law.
Oh my goodness! So suddenly they're 13.
Yes, because
Hard
he
to
has
put in a
13-year-old twins.
They're sort of hard to find right now.
Yes.
It's been in print continuously since that one came out first in
200 years ago.
86. No, 1986.
Yeah.
And we took it out of print when our oldest son was in law school at that point. But and his law professor said, "Oh, are you the kid that did?" And I'm not going to say what he said, but but anyway,
we're protecting
we really realized that we needed to close the curtains and our glass windows in the Arp family, because they all had been so good about letting us tell the stories and all. So we took it out of print one Christmas. It's a Christmas present to our 3 sons. And so then the German publisher who had published some of our marriage stuff found it and really wanted to publish it. And we said, we'll have to talk to our sons. So we went back and talked to them. I said, is it okay if it gets published in German? And they said, okay. And we said, we'll change all of the stories and protect the guilty. And actually, some of them helped us with the update.
Yeah.
And so it was published in German, and it, it did okay for a year or two, and all of a sudden it caught on like wildfire.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, it's our best-selling books are in German.
Best-selling book ever.
Anywhere. Yeah.
Wow.
So it has been updated, let's see, 2 or 3 times in German, and we recently did a huge update. In German.
It's not in English, so.
And then we also in German wrote another book for parents who have kids who are not getting ready to go into puberty. And so that's never been published here. And then the other one is, it was published here and did pretty well. It was answering the 8 cries of the spirited child. And that was the little kids So all of those have been updated in German. And so that's one of our projects, at least to get them as ebooks,
Yeah.
Get them updated here. So after we finish the updating before you say I do, the Seriously Dating book, then that's on our radar screen.
Yeah.
You're 80 and you guys are still talking about projects and updating and staying current and staying relevant and just encouraging all of us. You are just such a gift that about leaving your legacy.
Too sweet.
You already have a legacy, and yet you're continuing your legacy with such vibrancy. It's just, you are just an inspiration to us all.
Amy, it's a gift. It's, for whatever reason, Lord has continued to give us good health, to give us enough energy to do this, and we're slowed down. We still hike, but we don't hike 300 miles a year anymore. We're down to about 200 miles a year. So,
but right now, as you know, what our favorite date is.
Well, you better tell it. I do know.
Yeah.
Orange Theory.
Orange Theory.
Goodness.
Go Orange.
Go Orange.
Claudia's killing it. I'm hanging in there.
Oh, he's doing well too. We've been doing it for 3 months, and we've had some conversations here. You're our model.
Yeah.
You are not just my role model, but I think Marriage Champions, we have found some worthy shoes to, if we could just put a toe in, we would be doing very well. Oh gosh, Dave and Claudia, you guys are so much fun. I could talk to you forever, but we have run out of time. Thank you so much for being here. You guys are just a delight.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Just appreciate it.
Thank you. And you can always find us at 10greatdates.org.
Marriage Champions too. You can find us at marriage-initiative.org if you want to catch up with all those links and find the